Welcome back, Fantasy Football Squad. Today we're talking about auction versus redraft leagues. Let's hit it. Welcome back, Fantasy Football Squad. Today we're talking about auction versus redraft leagues. The differences, the pros, the cons, all the good stuff. We got you covered. Let's get rolling. So we're going to start with redraft leagues. These are your typical snake drafts, typically 10 to 12 teams. You could do 8, you could do 14, you could do 16, you could do more. It really just depends on your vibe and how many friends you have. I don't have that many, so I usually go for a 10 team or a 12 team. But that's just me. Redraft leagues you can pick up off the street. If you don't know anything, you can do a little bit of research in an hour and get what you're looking for. Pretty straightforward. Your most typical league is a redraft league. That would be your very first go-to, in my opinion, if you've never played fantasy football before. Auction leagues are determined by price, right? So in a snake draft, if I have the 10th pick in the draft, I wait for the first 9 picks, and then on pick 10 I go, and then it snakes back. So I get 2 picks on 10, so I get 10 and 11 technically, and then I have to wait all the way for it to snake back around. So everyone else after me would have 2 picks. Auction is a little bit more skill-oriented, so there's usually bigger discrepancies in ability. And if you don't know what you're doing in an auction draft, you can easily screw yourself over. Auction drafts usually have a budget, and the usual budget is around $200, right? And so you're bidding on players. So it's a very active draft. Redraft leagues, you can finish in an hour, maybe 45 minutes if you're flying. Auction drafts usually take hours. You need a good evening to just book it out and make sure you know what you're doing and stay on top of everything. Auction drafts, you'll go and you'll have a set order, but in your order, you're going to nominate someone. And there's strategy to this, right? So if let's say I have the first pick in the auction draft, the logical play is, well, I want Christian McCaffrey, right? Let's say, with the first pick in the draft. Good player, good pick. Doesn't mean I'm going to get him if I nominate him. If I nominate him and someone bids $200, they're going to get Christian McCaffrey and I'm not. There are limits to how much you can spend. The league won't let you spend $200 on one player and then zero on the rest of your lineup. That would be amazing, but terrible. Typically, you'll want to spend at max, I would say around $60, $65 for one player. That's tops. You obviously can't do that with everyone, because if you do that 3 times, you have about $20 left. So there's nothing wrong with reaching in the first 2 rounds for someone you really want, right? If you really want Christian McCaffrey or you really want Justin Jefferson, go ahead and get them, right? If that's your guy, go and get them. I can't go in the first round and get Christian McCaffrey and CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, right? I have to pick and choose who I get, because it's very fun and sexy to get those picks, but then come round 9, when you need your first bench spot, you're going to need to spend money on someone, right? And you want depth, and depth has value, and value is expensive. So the high-end guys go for 60, 65, depends on your league. I play in a league with a bunch of Chiefs fans, which is a bummer, but they typically go high on players like Mahomes, on Kelsey. They'll go high on Rashee Rice this year, people like that. So you got to know your crowd too. If you play in a league where everyone is a fan of one team, use that to your advantage, right? Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into before the league happens. A strategy that I see people use, that I'll use on occasion, is I'll nominate a player I don't want, but I know is going to get bid on. So for example, who's someone I'm down on this year? Let me just throw someone under the bus. Let's say I'm down on like Tua, for example, right? Tua's going to get drafted at some point, but he won't get drafted super high. But I know someone's going to pick him and someone's going to want him. I don't know Tua's price right now, but I'm going to guess he's under $10. Rough estimate. And that's pretty cheap, you would say, right? And if you nominate him and no one bids on them, you do get them back. But then worst case scenario, I see it, I get Tua for $1, which is a great deal for me. Or I nominate him and someone spends $8, $9, $10 on Tua, and A, I don't get him, which I never wanted him in the first place, and 2, someone else has to get Tua for $10. So they've spent their $10. And the more you spend, the less you have, obviously, right? People who go into the first 4 rounds and spend 2/3 of their budget are exciting and fun, but then they've blown through most of their money already. And so they can't bid high on players that they like in the later rounds. And when you're shopping later rounds, a lot of people will spend $1, $2 max on players because they don't have the money. So it's important to save enough, but you don't want to save too much. You need to get someone in the first 3 rounds who's not expensive but has value. It's hard to toe that line of spending but not spending too much. Every auction league I've been in, someone nominates a kicker. Don't bet on a kicker. You can bet $1 at the very end of your draft. Don't bet on a kicker. Don't bet on a defense. I've seen defenses go for like $9, $10. Don't do this. Please God, don't spend money on a defense or a kicker. I would say roughly 85 to 90% of your budget should go towards your starters. And probably the biggest key, if you take away one thing, it's patience. Patience, patience, patience. Make sure you wait to spend your money. Make sure you wait to read the board. It's tempting to go get CMC. It's tempting to spend $70 to get the best player in the league. I get it. But it's worth the wait sometimes because you can get two good quarterbacks because you can get two good running backs for the price of one great one. But like I said, if you love someone in the first round, if you love JT, pull the trigger and spend the money, right? If it's your guy, go get your guy. The last thing I'll leave you with is don't have leftover money, right? That hard balance of teetering of how much do I spend versus not spend. But you want to make sure you have a good amount of money to spend early and that you've saved some, but not too much, because by the time you're getting your kicker and your defense, you should have next to zero money left. An easy way to kind of learn more about auction drafts is to do mock auction drafts. We're going to put out a video soon about mock auctions and mock redrafts and what they look like, kind of what to look for, how to prepare for them, and how they can help you succeed for your actual draft coming in August. Thanks for staying to the end. If you like our content, make sure you follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, and check out our website. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, so stay tuned. Peace!